Alright, I wanted to do a short tutorial. I just wanted to show you how to adjust the orientation so when we're moving things, you can adjust you can orient your move tool to specific edges, verts, or faces. And it's a temporary change in your movement orientation, and it's a huge help when you're modeling. Especially, I find it really helpful for straps and stuff like that. But like let's say I wanted to move my eyelids all in one specific direction. I could do that really easily. It comes in handy in so many different places in modeling, but I find it extremely helpful when I'm making straps, belts, anything like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a sweep mesh real quick, and we'll make it flat. Also, when I'm making straps or belts, I don't like it to be a three-dimensional object. In general, I try and keep everything flat, and then extrude at the end. It's so much easier to manipulate just one flat surface and then give it thickness. Then you don't have to worry, it'll have uniform thickness all the time if you do it later. So with my sweep mesh, I'm just going to rotate this so my normal's facing outward, and we'll drop our scale profile. No, actually, I'm going to keep it at 1. And I can move all of these pieces a little bit later. And let's go back to our sweep mesh. I'll make it, actually that resolution's fine. Okay, so if I grab this geometry, I can say delete by type history, and it will just make it geometry now. It's no longer a sweep mesh. I'm going to hide this curve. And let's say I want to extrude this piece to wrap back over and look like it's sewn to this buckle piece, right? Well, first I kind of want to move it in this direction so it's sitting inside this little metal loop a little bit better. I can grab the face itself, or I can grab the edge. I think we'll grab the face since this whole edge is going down through. Now, right now, you can see my move is kind of going in this direction, and I want to move it perfectly along the normals of this face. So if I hit my D key, you'll see it comes up with an orient. This also allows me to adjust my transform on the fly. But if I left click a face, I can reorient my move. This is temporary to that face. I can also reorient. You can see my edge highlights. I can reorient it to an edge. Anything I want. Now I can click on and orient it to something really far away. If, like, let's say I want to move it perfectly, or I want to use scale to flatten it with another face, I can orient it to that face and then scale, and it'll flatten it to it. So this has tons of applications. I'm going to reorient it to that joint though, and now when I hit W to move, I'm moving it perfectly along the normal of that face. Now I can move it out so we're sitting just a little bit above, and I can even rotate it now, and it's going to rotate perfectly along. So this is a great way to move edges. So, like, for example, this edge is as slanted. I want it to fold over this kind of flat, right? So if I'm rotating, it's got a weird angle on this rotate. So if I hit my D key, orient it to this edge, and now rotate, I'm perfectly aligned along this edge, and I can rotate along this edge and move, and it's temporary, but as long as I'm still on this edge, this transform will stay. So let's say maybe I want to get a little bit, let's say get really close, and then I see this edge is cutting through. I can hit my rotate and just get it really dialed in right there. So now I had my soft select on, it's just really lightly affecting things. Now I can extrude, and we can push this over the edge, and then I can hit G to extrude again, and we can pull it down. Now we need to start. Now I'm going to cross over this geometry, and then I'll add in a loop soon. I'm going to hit G to extrude again, and now it's wanting to go in the direction of the normal of that edge, which is forward. So I can just move it myself, go down a little, and then over. But now something I can do is, see, I've got my move. I can hit D with this edge, right, and orient it to this. So now I'm moving along the normal of that face, and I can align things much better. Now I can move this over, and let's say I want it to be a little more oriented to the this main part of the strap. Now let's hit D. We'll reorient it to this edge. And now I can rotate it and get it to line up. There we go. Okay, so let's grab this edge. We're going to move it. I'll hit D to orient. One thing though is you can't orient inside this gizmo. So look, I'm trying to click it. It's not showing up. Once I'm outside the gizmo, it says orient. I can orient to verts as well. And you can use this moving verts, faces, any of your components. All right, so I've oriented it to this edge. Now I can move it in perfectly. And I want to keep it, let's see, do I want to keep, yeah, you know, I can move it right here on the edge. And then I can just use a bevel and I can make that fraction a little bit stronger and then create segments and it'll start kind of rounding out right there. But you know, I'm going to make my fraction a little bit closer to here, give myself a segment, and then I'm going to bevel this one too because that's a little too straight. You don't ever see a strap kind of wrapping around like that. So that already helped. Make my fraction a little bit stronger and then give myself a segment. That's just going to round it out there. Alright, so now I can grab this edge and I want to move directly to this normal, so I'm moving out. I'll hit D, orient it, and there we go. And you know, I think I need to rotate this too. Let's rotate this a little bit. So there we go. Perfect. Okay, so now I can extrude this. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit extrude. And we're going to give it some thickness. Okay, so now the issue is I've given it thickness, but it's pushed through itself, right? So I just need to go to my face mode, and I need to grab the face that's being, so if I grab, I can hit 4. Now I can see that interior. No, it's being a little fussy with me. So let's go ahead and isolate this mesh for now. I'm going to just select it, hit Alt-H. And now I want to grab this face, and I'll just shift select, so that'll select the loop of faces there. And I want to move it outside. I can hit D to orient it to that face, and I can move it by itself. Oh, that's not the right one. I want to grab this guy. There we go. And I'll orient it to that face. And now I can move it out, and that's going to actually work. I don't need my soft select. Oh, that orient did not work correctly, though. Let's orient it to this back face instead. Now it's just moving straight down. Okay, I'm going to have to cut a little edge loop in there, but I can hit Control-Shift-H to show last hidden, and now I can start to see how everything's going. So I can see that when I did that extrusion, I've got some interpenetration with my ring here. So if I go to face, select these faces, I'll hit D to orient and move directly along that normal, and I can hit B and just reduce. I'll hold B, left click drag to reduce my soft selection. Now I can start bringing that up, grab this one, I'll hit D. So the main point I want you to take away from here is you can always adjust your movement and you can snap it to your normals. So it's a super helpful in stuff like this. Or if you need to move an entire object, right? I can take this object, and if I need to move it, and my object. So if I go into my move tool, my axis orientation is object, but let's say first I need to center my pivot. Let's say I don't want to move in the direction of my object. What if I want to move towards my character's neck or something like that? Well, I can do the same thing with an entire object. I can hit D and orient my entire move on my object to a face, to an edge, anything like that. And now it's going to rotate around that. So this can be really helpful. Let's say I want to orient it and rotate it around this edge right here. So I'll hit D, orient it around that, and I can actually, I'll hold B and snap it to that. And now when I'm rotating my object, it's directly from that clasp. So this helps in so many different ways. I hope this helps you, and happy 3D modeling.